What's up, y'all? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's get a little spicy. So, y'all know sometimes before I do my reviews, I have a segment called Spicy Corner where we just talk about the things that we see online as it pertains to the show that I'm about to review. Well, when I tell you I got too much saved in my phone as it pertains to Real Housewives of Atlanta, I don't know what these women are on. Nothing but chaos and confusion this whole entire week. This whole entire week. I was like, I don't know what's in the water down there, okay? But we have to talk about it. And you're probably wondering why the background is just loving hip hop steals and things of that nature. It's because I've been seeing a lot of people compare this show now to Love and Hip Hop. And I'm wondering, are we seeing the Love and Hip Hopification of Real Housewives of Atlanta? Or is this just Real Housewives of Atlanta? And honestly, it's starting to feel like, girl, this is just Real Housewives of Atlanta. And I think this is the era they going into. I don't know. But we're going to talk about all the things that I saw online. So let's get into it. All right, y'all. So first, let's talk about Miss Kelli. So Kelli did an interview with Virtual Reality T, and they ended up asking her like several different questions in a span of I think like a 17-minute interview. But I saw several chopped up clips, and I'm only going to talk about the three that stood out to me. So first up, let's talk about the one where they ended up asking her why her and Brit are no longer friends. What's going on?
What
I
happened?
think the friendship was just as fake as the pastry. You want to put it back?
At what point did you realize the friendship was fake?
And when I say fake, it's not in regards to our real relationship. I think loyalty lies in certain places, and I think sometimes you don't always get that in friendships, unfortunately, and you find out who's really for you and who really supports you and who doesn't.
It seems like her and Porsha are really supporting each other right now.
Well, they're just about as fake as that pastry.
So I'm definitely interested in seeing what transpired between Brit and Kelli for them to fall out, because we're also going to be listening to Brit's interviews where she talks about her and Kelli not being cool anymore. But you have Kelli basically saying that their friendship was just as fake as the pastries that they have as displays in the interview space. Then she goes on to talk about like loyalty. And I wonder, what did Britt do that Kelli felt was like unloyal? Because right now we are seeing Kelli like ride for Britt. She was the first person to leave the hair salon before she even saw the explicit pictures of her. She also was advocating for Britt, saying, that's not my friend. I've never seen her do that to Kenya and Porsha. She was also in the vault trying to calm Britt down and be there for her. It's like we've seen Kelli be uber loyal and try to be there for her friend. So I wonder, in what way did Britt make Kelli feel like she was an unloyal person? And I'm more interested to see the fallout between this friendship than Porsha and Shamia, mainly because I feel like we all knew that situation was inevitable. But also, it doesn't seem like Britt and Kelli really have history. So I wonder how harsh their digs are going to be with each other. And what I mean by them not having history is right now you can tell that Shamia and Porsha are trying to keep it cute because they don't know how far they want to push it with each other. But with Kelli and Britt, it only seems like they've been friends for like 2 years at the most. It seems like a very fresh new friendship, which means you normally will take it there with somebody because you don't have history. And I'm interested to see it. I also liked how Kelli called Porsha and Britt's relationship fake, because right now it feels that way. Maybe I won't feel that way as the season continues and we see them bond, but this seems like a relationship of convenience and strategy than an actual relationship built on liking somebody and getting to know them. But the next clip I want to play for you guys is about Angela Oakley and Phaedra. So Kelli is basically asked about that situation because it seems like Angela and Phaedra get into it during the season. So let me play that clip for you.
Angela told us that Phaedra, at the end of the season, came for her like a clout chaser.
Nah.
So,
Whoa.
for context of that, like, can you help us with that? Was Phaedra trying to clout chase at Angela? Like, what do you think she was trying to do there? And why was Angela her potential target or alleged target?
Well, first of all, I don't think that Phaedra has the clout to chase anyone. I mean, she is the Southern Belle, right? I'm definitely going to go for Team Fun Size, always. But I think, I don't know, for some reason, I think some things were maybe misunderstood. I think it was a situation where things were not communicated properly, or it could have been miscommunication. I don't know. It was some weirdness going on, and I hate that it kind of started with me, I guess. I probably can't say
You
too
were
much
in the
of that.
mix? Wow, okay.
Well, I was mixing, but not like
you were stirring
in the
pot?
mix,
Okay.
you know. But I was mixing, so I don't know. You know, I hope that they can work it out. But you got two strong women personalities that I don't know. It might be a team small versus team tall.
Okay.
I'm gonna be honest, y'all. This is weird to me. And the reason why I say that is Phaedra only comes in the last 2 weeks of filming. So what would y'all be arguing about the last 2 weeks of filming? So I could get Angela feeling like Phaedra's clout chasing because it's like, girl, you just got here. Why are you starting beef with me? But I wonder what the beef is about. Is it reasonable or is it not? Because you have Kelli admitting that she was a part of like basically stirring the pot, but that it's ultimately like a misunderstanding, it seems. I just don't understand why Phaedra would have issues with Angela. That's it. Like, I'm just kind of like, you having issues with Angela the last 2 weeks of filming? That don't make sense to me. That does not make sense to me. So the last clip I want to play for you guys is Kelli answering the question where the two hosts end up asking her, who do you think is going to have the most to answer for at the reunion?
It's gonna have the most to answer to at this reunion.
Definitely Porsha.
Okay.
She's gonna have the most to answer. She's gonna have a lot to answer to. I think Drew is probably gonna have a lot to answer to. She's kind of, you know, I'm gonna give it to them for right now. Circle back with me towards end of the season.
And we will. Who do you?
So this is interesting to me, mainly because I don't care about Drew or Porsha. I feel like both of them are liars. So I don't think I care to hear them lie to us again at the reunion. But right now we're only 5 episodes into the season and I don't really see anything that they would be answering for right about now. But I guess as the season goes on, they'll start, you know, acting up, because I do remember while the season was airing, a lot of the girls were saying that Drew is a liar and that Porsha is kind of moving funny. So we'll see. All right, y'all. So moving on to our next topic, let's talk about everybody getting to YouTube. Oh my gosh, y'all. I said, so everybody trying to get a Google AdSense check. I'm not mad at it. Okay, I'm not. But I do think a lot of the reality TV girls and boys underestimate how much work goes into creating content, whether it's a podcast, YouTube itself, TikToks, Instagram, if you're a Twitch streamer. Like, I think a lot of people don't realize how like taxing it can be to do this type of stuff, especially if you take pride in your work. Like, if you want to make sure you research stuff thoroughly, you want to make sure that you edit things correctly. Like, it is time consuming. But what I find interesting is, out of all the Real Housewives of Atlanta girls that have started YouTube channels, Candy's the only one that has been extremely consistent with what she's been putting out. Like, Candy really gives her subscribers what they want on her channel. Nene, our girl, Nene will post something and then 2 months later post something else. And I'm like, how is this supposed to be a talk show? And now we have Kenya and Porsha. So let's talk about Kenya first. So Kenya made this graphic with AI, and I'm begging y'all, leave the AI alone. Leave it alone. Y'all are damaging the environment and it's stupid. Because this graphic, I'm just like, Kenya, what? So this is what she posted. It says, confessionals in my words, youtube.com official Kenya Moore. That's the name of her YouTube channel. Tuesday, April the 15th, 2025. Subscribe now. Submit your questions below. Only subscriber questions will be answered. So she posted this graphic on Instagram and it came with this caption. It says, my confessionals, my way. I have a lot I want to say. Subscribe now to be notified when it drops. Drop your questions below. Only subscriber questions will be read and a chance for a live chat. YouTube.com/official Kenya Moore. And then it says all rights reserved and copywritten. And then she has her, I guess, a website again. So I'm worried for Kenya. I am. I'm very much concerned because I feel like a lot of the moves that Kenya is making are concerning in the sense of it feels like she's moving off of emotions. And we can see when Kenya is emotional, she don't make the best decisions, okay? And I'm just hoping with this live that she consulted a PR team, a lawyer, got her a publicist, somebody to help this go in her favor, because I would hate for her to get on that YouTube live and make it worse. I don't even think she should be taking live questions. I honestly feel like she should just do a recorded video, have people send her questions, and she just, go through the ones that she feels is the most important to answer and call it a day. That's low-key why I'm nervous to go live. And it's not because I'm worried about my subscribers, y'all, or anything. It's more so like sometimes you need to edit yourself. And I like having the power to edit myself. Like sometimes I go off in tangents. Sometimes I cuss too much in a video. Sometimes I say something really shady or mean. And I'm like, ooh, Leah, that was too far. And you can't do that during a live because it's live. And I'm just worried. I'm worried for her. And I hope she just doesn't dig the hole deeper. So moving on from Kenya, let's talk about Porsha. So like I said, Porsha also has a YouTube channel and she was teasing a lot of information. So let's talk about it. So shouts out to the RHOA talk. So basically they posted a few clips from Porsha's video, and this is what they stated on Twitter. It says Porsha speaks on the unseen moment with Angela, friendship with Kenya, Brit and Kenya's feud, and reveals a housewife requested for Kenya to be fired from the show. So first up, let's talk about Angela and Porsha. So I don't have the clip where Porsha is specifically talking about her situation with Angela, but I do have the trailer clip where she basically admits that she was playing with Angela when she said she knew things about Charles. Porsha released 2 videos on her YouTube channel. Part 1 was about her speaking about Drew, Dennis, and Ralph and saying that she feels like the whole entire situation was a farce, that it's fake, and it was all implemented to pretty much get a rise out of her to make up a storyline and help promote Drew's album. And then part 2 is her talking about the whole Kenya and Brit Eady situation. So let me play the trailer clip that she released of what was supposed to be a part of part 2, and then we'll play the clips from part 2.
It's a housewife still on the show right now who gave Kenya that nude information. No, I'm gonna expose that. Everybody needs to know who she is. That was crazy to me. And I said, y'all know something about Charles? Like that, you know what I'm saying? Just playing with her. But I guess I'm a good actress or hit a sore spot. There was a lot of going back and forth at the table. And at that point, Kenya says, peasant. She picks up what looked like a damn serving spoon and start hitting her damn glass like this. Attention, 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 what, girl? Huh? Let's sip on that. Put a pin in that too.
So first, let me just say this. All that tongue popping Porsha was doing got on my nerves. All that and all of that. Okay, you do it once or twice while you talking, that's one thing. But she did it throughout the entire video. And I was like, Porsha, you are grating on my nerves. It was getting to the point where I felt like, Like you, okay, so I'm a person that does not like when people smack. I can't stand people that have horrible, terrible manners. It makes my skin crawl. And after a while, all that tongue popping was starting to make me feel like I was listening to Porsha smack, and it was making me uncomfortable. So when it comes to Angela and Porsha and her making that comment about I know something about Charles, Porsha basically admitted in her YouTube that she was playing. Like she was just throwing a little bit of shade. I said, girl, that's not shade. Like she was trying to get a rise out of Angela. Like she didn't think it was that deep. And then the person that she said who picked up a serving spoon and started banging at their glass, that was also Angela, because it seems like she was trying to get the girls' attention during the whole event at the vault. And I think it was during the time that Kenya and Brit were going back and forth. So the next video I'm going to play for you guys is Porsha giving her thoughts about what happened between Kenya and Brit. So let me play that clip for you.
Like, and what's so crazy when I watched the episode was there was a particular person who was like, I can't believe, all of us were like, I can't believe this happened. I can't believe she got this information. What I'm telling you is, I know for a fact that one of these housewives who is still on the show is the one who gave Kenya a big part of that nude information. So fast forward to the actual spy event. I'm at the event and I'm like, okay, this is gorgeous. I mean, Kenya did a phenomenal job. Her Bronner Brothers part was so bomb, like the styles and everything, like it was all top tier. And I think she did such an amazing job as an entrepreneur to execute what she executed and to bring amongst this many people to celebrate what she has accomplished. But she tore it down at the same time. And that is the part that I don't understand. To put that much money, time, effort, blood, sweat, and tears, and you're gonna let another come and talk about her and do what you did and mess up your own prize, your own moment, was just heartbreaking for, I think, even the people who were supporting her. It was just very difficult to see. It really was. Because Kenya started her speech about, you know, this place and how hard it was to get, and all of a sudden it turned so dark. It was almost just standing there watching Kenya talk at this event felt like it was so bright and beautiful, and that a cloud had come, and that it had got, like, physically, like my eyesight felt like this as Kenya started showing these poster boards. And each poster board that she showed, they could not show it on the show, which I am so glad and thankful to Bravo for blurring it out and cutting out majority of what despicable things Kenya said about Brit. I'm so glad they took it out. And I just think that at the end of the day, because Brit was being very, very honest and very remorseful, and she, honestly, what they didn't show too, Brit owned her past when it came to me, the part that she wanted to talk about. So she living in her truth. Her husband know her life, and it is what it is. He married her, he loves her, he has respect for her. And you meet people where they are, and you don't judge people by their past in that way. And so, and I feel like that's the same thing with Kenya. At this point, I wanted to love Kenya, and I want to love Kenya. I want to have a good relationship with Kenya. I'm not going to judge her by her past. I don't want her to judge me by my past. I want her to meet me where we are. And I just felt like all of us, the whole cast, felt like it was awful. And everybody started to walk out when she started to show some of the really vulgar pictures at the time. All of us that were blown up like this big. I'm talking about huge. Like, I mean, I was like, what printing company printed this out? Like, who even did this for her? Who? I mean, I was like, do this bitch got an extra jumbo printer at her house? How did Kenya do this? She had a whole team with her when she twirled down the hell, baby, because how did you get all of this stuff printed out? Who did all this research? Who did it? Besides the housewife that gave you the footage, who else did all this? Oh my God. But it was a lot. We all walked out. We all left. And we all just felt like, you know what? We're done with the situation. Production, y'all need to deal with Kenya. I felt like production, y'all need to deal with Kenya, and y'all need to deal with Brit. Both of them need to be, this situation has to be handled on y'all's end. You know what I'm saying? I feel like at the end of the day, no one can be online when it comes to the Brit and Kenya situation playing a victim. Both women played a part. And I feel like there is a place where they can move on, but that place has to be agreed upon by both of them. They have to decide that they both want to sit down and have a conversation. And I'm not saying have no apology for just camera. I feel like these two women can sit down and talk and say, you know what? I hit you where your trauma was. And Kenya can say, I hit you where your trauma was. Hell, Brit mentioned in a pistol, even though she wasn't trying to, even though she didn't, point it at Kenya, she didn't show a weapon or any of that. I guess maybe just mentioning a pistol, it could be triggering for Kenya. Absolutely. Okay? So that may be a place where, you know what, I don't like that. And I feel like what Kenya did is a place where Brit can feel like, you hit me in a trauma place. And then talk about it, figure it out, and move on. So that's my hope for both of them, that they can get together one day and acknowledge what they both did. Can I say lick for lick? I don't know. I don't know if it's lick for lick, but I feel like they both got to get back in some kind of way. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like they can sit down, have a conversation, and I feel like they can move on.
So 2 things I took from this clip. One, Porsha doesn't have anything going on when it comes to this show. Because in part 1, all she spoke about for real, and what the blogs picked up about, which they felt were more important, was her speaking about Drew, Dennis, and Ralph. And her piece of where she feels like they were intentionally trying to antagonize her and they really don't have no storyline. They said that she spoke about Simon, but I didn't see any clips about that. But I saw people in the comments on some of the blogs pretty much saying that she spoke about him very diplomatically. So I was like, okay, part 1 is about Drew, Ralph, and Dennis. Then we get to part 2 and you talking about Kenya, Brit, and Angela. And honestly, the situation that happened between Angela and Porsha wasn't that deep, in my opinion, for her to speak about the situation and the way that she spoke about it. It felt like she was trying to make it more than what it was. And then when it comes to the Brit and Kenya situation, you're not even a part of that. You're a spectator. So that lets me know Porsha ain't got nothing going on when it comes to this show. But I feel like she purposely is trying to do a YouTube channel in the same vein as Dr. Heavenly, where Dr. Heavenly most of the time doesn't have a lot going on Married to Medicine, but she might have a feud or two, might argue, cuss the girls out, but people enjoy her YouTube channel, which promotes the show and gives a behind the scenes of what's happening in like a salacious and chaotic way. And that, I feel like production feels is valuable to the show. And maybe this is Porsha's way of trying to make herself more valuable. Because like I've said in my reviews, Porsha was supposed to be like the prodigal son coming back married and rich as hell. And that's not what we getting. We really ain't got nothing other than her talking about, pampered with Porsha, go naked hair, and being mad that Dennis and Drew in the studio together. She ain't got nothing going on, y'all. Nothing going on. So the next clip I want to play for you guys, and it'll be the last clip I play as it pertains to Porsha, is her talking about one of the housewives trying to get Kenya fired.
So there's a housewife, again, who is not the same one, but there's a housewife that's still on the show right now that went several times to try to get Kenya fired. And that was crazy to me because how you gonna do that? How are you gonna go? I've never called for somebody to get fired. I mean, at the end of the day, we all working, trying to make a living for our kids and our families. And I would never, at the end of the day, call for nobody to get fired, okay? But this person went behind closed doors and asked for Kenya to be fired multiple times. And this person is still on the show. And it's really funny because, yeah, anyway, we'll save that for later. That'll come out later. But let's sip on that. Put a pin in that too.
So honestly, I'm gonna be honest, I'm taking everything that Porsha says with a grain of salt. I don't think she's a trustworthy person, and I don't think she's loyal to anybody. But let's act like this is true. To be honest, I only think it's either one of the newbies. I think it's either Brit or Angela, because I wrote down everybody's name and I was like, I don't see Phaedra doing it because she doesn't get there till 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks of filming, so she never has an interaction with Kenya. I don't see Cynthia doing it because even though Cynthia has pretty much gone against Kenya in the press about this situation, she still speaks with care and tact about her. So I don't feel like she would ever go out her way to take a paycheck from her friend from Kenya. I don't see Shamia doing it, especially with Shamia going on her press tour, basically saying, girl, I wish Kenya would have stayed instead of Brit at this point. When it comes to the newbies, I would rule out Kelli because it definitely feels like Kelli likes Kenya. So I don't see her running to production saying, like, please get rid of her. Who I really think did it was either Brit or Angela. And it makes sense why Brit would do it because, you know, her and Kenya got beef. But Angela, there's something about Angela that's it's a little wishy-washy. It's her. So here's the thing. Her being the one that started the argument between Kenya and Brit at the vault, because she's the one that wrote the question, was very interesting to me. And then to see how she was like, girl, we care about you, blah, 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 to Brit when they were over at Shamia's house. And she was like, I was just trying to show up for my friend. I was just trying to acknowledge her feelings. Then we find out that she texted Kenya. It's like, it's too much going on with Angela. And then it feels like Angela is not telling the full story about what's happening in her family. Makes me feel like Angela was probably the one running to production. That's what it feels like for me. She's the culprit. But we don't know. And I don't understand why Porsha didn't tell it. But I mean, I do understand. She's trying to make sure people are interested in her channel and tune in for what she got coming up. So moving on, y'all, let's talk about Kenya versus Porsha. Really, we're not moving on because this is all stemming from the YouTube channel. But after Porsha dropped the teaser trailer alluding to knowing for a fact that one of her fellow castmates or one of her fellow housewives gave Kenya a portion of the new content of Brit, Kenya didn't take too kindly to that. She actually hopped into the comments to let it be known that what Porsha was saying wasn't true. So this is what Kenya said. Absolutely no one on the show gave me anything. Stop using my situation for clickbait. So Porsha didn't take too kindly to this response, and this is how she responded. She said, that's a lie. We talked day and night, and I personally went to network/production and fought for you before you showed her underage explicit pictures. I also went after as well because I was hurt you had to leave. I checked on you because I cared and care. I'm not your enemy at Kenya Moore. So Porsha continued on with the narrative of not being Kenya's enemy by posting in her Insta story saying, my full statement is in YouTube at Kenya. I'm not your enemy. So everybody was flabbergasted that Porsha basically insinuated that some of the photos that were shown of Brit by Kenya was possibly or potentially her underage. So the internet was going off like, girl, what? Even I was like, oh, that's whoa, you know what I mean? But then there was a screenshot of a comment that was going around on Twitter by this account by the name of Industry Standard, aka Indy. And I actually went to the page and looked at the person who owns it. The person is a musician. It looks like he's from Nigeria and he's kind of like in the mix in Atlanta. So he basically said this. He said, I saw the PORN myself. She wasn't underage. Her nose was different. Her voice was the exact same. So that comment was being shopped around, like a screenshot of the comment was being shopped around on Twitter, on Instagram. I even saw it on TikTok. And here's the thing. I think once people saw this comment, critical thinking started to like seep into people's brains. And this is my thing. I started to think too, because at first I was like, Kenya. I said, oh girl, oh girl, you, no ma'am. But then when I really thought about it, I was like, if Kenya really was in possession of that kind of material, she would be in jail, y'all. Like there would be a lawsuit because people would have been like, how did you get this content? Where did you get it from? Did you pay for it? Because then I think it goes into the context of you distributing that type of information. So I was like, nah, I don't believe it. Number two, I definitely believe if Porsha was telling the truth, NBC Universal, the cast, and Andy and the producers would have cut ties with Kenya immediately back in June. After they did whatever investigation that they said that they did, they would have outed Kenya in a heartbeat. Like, they would have thrown her under the bus, because the way that the fans are pissed off right now, they wouldn't take that heat if that actually was true. So I don't believe Porsha. I mean, I could be wrong, and maybe it might be revealed that I am wrong, but as it stands right now, I don't believe Porsha. There is something that is diabolical about Porsha. And what I mean by that is, I believe Porsha is a liability to Bravo and RHOA as a whole. Like, why would you get in the comments and put that out there, that this lady was in possession of something like that? On top of that, do you think that makes people interested in watching the show? I feel like right now Porsha is grasping at straws and trying to make herself fit for this show, because like I said, Porsha ain't got nothing going on. If you go look at both of her YouTube clips, they weren't that entertaining. Okay, all that tongue popping and stuff, her eating copious amounts of Church's chicken, which Church's chicken is nasty, and I don't care what nobody say. I used to have to fight with my friends in Alabama about that. And I was like, Church's is nasty. Take me to Popeyes, Mrs. Winters, girl, Bojangles, but I don't want no Church's. But you got a full spread of Church's chicken. You got a huge thing of like orange or like Hawaiian punch drink, but you sipping on tea. Like, the YouTube video didn't make sense to me, y'all. It just didn't. But it just feels like, girl, like I said, you don't got nothing going on. So why would you put that out there? That is so dangerous. And I'm not saying what Kenya did wasn't wrong, because I do think it's wrong. I think she was justified in her feelings, her anger, her frustrations, and getting back revenge on Brit. I just personally feel like she should have did it a different way, because this wasn't the way to go. Because now your name is attached to you doing something that a lot of people feel like is egregious. You know what I'm saying? But this is the first time Kenya's name has ever been attached to something like that. I know people keep bringing up the whole Kim Fields situation. Kim Fields didn't get hurt. Her feelings may have gotten hurt, but Kim Fields didn't get hurt, okay? She did not get hurt. We've never heard of Kenya putting her hands on somebody, but we've known of several instances of Porsha chasing somebody down an alleyway, her family jumping Dennis and his mama in Mexico, and then her advocating for him to be locked up in a Mexican prison. They jumped on Dennis so bad that they ripped his shirt off his body. Do you know how much force you need to rip a shirt? Then we have her getting punted in the pussy by Cynthia when they was on Lake Lanier. Was it Lake Lanier? I guess that lake that I don't know why people keep going on when they in Atlanta, because girl, there's spirits and demons in that lake. And it's just like, we have so many instances of Porsha being violent against people and also lying on people to a degree that is so damaging and dangerous that I don't believe this lady right now. I feel like Porsha be acting stupid, but she be knowing what she's doing. And because Bravo won't check Porsha, this is what we get. So next, let's talk about Brit. So when I tell you the internet is a messy and diabolical place, because if people want to find something, they will find it. So y'all know the first poster board Kenya showed when she initially started her speech said, "Who is this hoe?" And it was all these pictures of Brit with her old face, or basically her regular nose. And they had blurred all of those pictures out of Brit. Well, a couple of fan accounts of Bravo have found these pictures. Now, I told y'all when I was doing my review that one picture that was at the bottom, it had the purple background of Brit. I knew where that was from because I spoke about it maybe a week or two ago. And in that the drama video, I'll put the thumbnail on the screen, and y'all know I'll link the video in the description box below. But I did do a segment on Brit Eady because that video resurfaced, as well as several other music videos that she was in in. And some of them were in some songs that I loved growing up. So I was just like, oh, okay, so she wasn't lying about that. But in that video, she basically explained how she got scouted to be a video vixen while in high school. Her and her friends went to the mall and she joined like a modeling competition that was there, and they liked her. But if you want to watch that video and hear it in her own words, look in the description box below and go visit that video. So I looked at that video, and then Mad Beefs also posted a picture of Brit with blonde hair and her her old nose. And it kind of made me sad in the sense of like, girl, you could have been gorgeous with your regular nose. Now you look like every other like Instagram model or like TikTok influencer. Like, we all know that there's a certain aesthetic that the girls start to aspire to when they become like, especially like Southern influencers down in like Atlanta, DC, Virginia, and all of that stuff. They start to all look the same. And even when you go to California, there's a certain look for an influencer. And it doesn't matter if you're white or black or Latin or Asian, everyone starts to look the same. And I just wish Brit would have left her nose alone, because there's been multiple videos of her coming out with her regular nose. And I was like, girl, if you would have just allowed yourself to age gracefully, you would have been beautiful. I'm not saying she ugly now, but I think the perfect example of what I'm talking about is when we saw the cast lineup and everybody saw Kelli, Angela, and Brit, and people were like, these three women look the same. It's because they all have that plastic surgery look. So the next picture I saw of Brit, or really what wasn't a picture, it was a video, but I just took a screenshot of it because they had music playing in the background that's more than likely going to get copywritten in this video. But she was being congratulated for being the cover girl on this magazine called Bad Magazine. This was posted back in July of 2016, and she had her original nose. So I guess she got this nose job possibly around like 2017 or 2018, because I did look up that picture that's been floating around of her and Rick Ross, and it looks like she already got a nose job by the time she was with him. And most of the things that I found online was saying that they got together around 2016, 2017. So either she got the nose job done while she was with Rick Ross, or she got it done before she was with Rick Ross. So the last video that we're going to watch of Brit is her with her original face, talking about she's about to film this steamy shower scene. So I don't know if she's filming the scene or if she is taking pictures with the scene. Either way, she's filming for this Kingsman Media Group. And I think this is also one of the pictures or screenshots that was on Kenya's poster board.
Hi, this is Brit Eady here at the photo shoot, just trying to get glammed up, trying to get hot and sexy for the next shot. We got a sexy, steamy shower scene coming up, so look forward to that. It's gonna be really hot, glamorous.
So moving on from these clips and videos of Brit back in the day, let's talk about her currently and her doing interviews, because it seems like she's on the same media press run or tour like Kelli, Angela, Shamia, and Porsha and Cynthia have been on. So she did an interview with the Housewives Nightcap, and this interview is gaining a lot of traction. She spoke the most in this interview, and it seems like she gave up more than the other clips I saw her on where she was talking, it seemed like, with the local news. So the first clip I'm going to play for you guys comes from Jay's reality blog, and it says this: hashtag Brit Eady says she wishes she could take back what she said, says if Kenya apologized to her and humbled herself, she would be open to working things out, but she's disappointed with how Kenya has handled the situation. So let me play that clip for you guys.
Bringing up the pistol of it all and all that.
I should have never done that. And I make mistakes. I was in a moment, I was triggered, and I did something that I wish I could take back. But what she did was a million times worse. So there's no way you could go around and play the victim now. And I would think that if we want to move forward, come to me, apologize, humble yourself, and I would be open. But that has not taken place. So I'm just disappointed how she's been handling it, and being a victim. And, it's just been a lot of noise. And that's why I've been quiet, because sometimes you just have to wait it out and see what people naturally do. And I'm just disappointed in her behavior. And even just, she went on different shows. I apologize, but I'm the one that's owed the apology. not everyone else. And the things that she said, you know, it's there forever. And I have to live with that with my family, with my husband, with my career. And I think at the very least, I'm owed an apology.
I'm going to be honest, I do not see it for this lady. And like I said, when we were talking about Porsha and Porsha saying maybe they could come to the table and apologize to each other, I don't ever see that happening when it comes to Brit and Kenya. I think the fact that Brit said Kenya needs to humble herself and apologize to her is wild to me, when the apology that you were going to give Kenya was half-hearted. You needed everybody to push you to say, I'm sorry. You didn't see anything wrong with your behavior until somebody probably tapped you on your shoulder and was like, girl, you did too much. Maybe your husband chewed you out because he was one of the people saying, girl, you're doing entirely too much when you were at the vault. So it's definitely given that you think you're more than who you are. And I think the way that Brit is playing this is going to cause people to take a step back from her. Because one, I don't think Brit understands the reality TV game. Girl, you're a newbie. People have been watching Kenya for 12 years. So whether they like her or hate her, there's still some type of history there compared to you. Number two, it's not really like you're taking ownership or accountability for being the one that kicked all of this off by threatening that lady with pistols and whips. Number three, I don't think Brit is checking the temperature of the fan base right about now, because when I looked on Twitter with these clips and on Instagram, most of the comments or the replies either were negative or very neutral. I may have saw one or two people comment Team Brit or King is just a hater of Brit because she's younger and prettier than her. But most of the comments were negative, like very negative or neutral. Like some people were just like, they both should have been let go. Some people were like, I hope this is Brit's last season. I saw some people say like, girl, this wouldn't have happened if you would have not threatened the lady with a firearm. As it states currently, nobody really is on her side, because I think ultimately a lot of people think Kenya's actions were deplorable and reprehensible, but I think a lot of people think that her feelings of feeling unprotected, disrespected, and like casted aside for this new girl are valid. I think a lot of people feel like her anger and her venom towards Brit is valid. I just think people wish she would have went a different way. And I'm one of those people. Do I agree with what Kenya did? No, I don't. But do I wish she would have done this a different way? Yes, I really do. Because Brit is an easy read, and I don't think Kenya needed to go that far to get her point across. You know, but then I look at Brit and I'm like, girl, well, you were saying you were the moment, and that's what she did. She made you the moment. Now you got people looking up old videos and pictures of you that you probably thought you got scrubbed from the internet. But like my daddy always says, you can't get nothing. You can't get rid of nothing on the internet. Okay, once it's out there, it's out there. Somebody gonna go download it. And I think that's what's happening currently right now. People are just trying to find the information and put it out there. But I do think Brit, unfortunately, is here to stay because of the stunt that Kenya pulled. She will definitely probably be here another 2 seasons if Real Housewives of Atlanta is still around. We're on season 16. She'll be here until season 18 or 19, because she was also in that Bravo nightcap talking about she was in bed for days and she had to go to therapy. Because if Brit is smart, and the things that I've heard online about her allegedly lawyering up after this whole situation, she probably got them to, like, her lawyers to help negotiate that she gets a mandatory 2 more seasons after this, where she doesn't have to worry about being on the chopping block because of what Kenya did, you know? But what's really going to be a testament, because like I said, I think she's here to stay, of whether or not the fan base likes her, is this episode that comes out tonight, which is Sunday, where I'm recording this, how she behaves after the aftermath of what takes place, and how she behaves on Watch What Happens Live tonight. That's the real performance, if she is going to make people like her. Because right now, the girls don't really like her. They don't. People find her to be obnoxious, a weirdo, and not really somebody that they would want to see on this show. People also find her to be boring out of all of the newbies. A lot of people feel like Angela, Kelli, and Shamia have way more interesting storylines than what she got going on. So I am curious to see how her performance goes on Watch What Happens Live tonight. So the last clip that I saw that I was interested in was Brit talking about her relationship with Kelli. The interviewer basically asked her, it seems like you and Kelli have issues, so what happened with that? And this is her response.
Interesting, her recent Instagram post, I don't know if you saw it.
I saw it.
But she posted photos from that night, including one with Kenya, and then a meme that said defending somebody and then experiencing why nobody likes them is so humbling. What is
You know what's crazy about that? And you guys are going to watch it unfold on the show. There's a lot of things that happen that people aren't going to expect from Kelli. She's going to really show a side that nobody saw coming. And I was very disappointed in just seeing her flip-flop. So it's one thing if we're not friends and, you know, you could feel however you feel, but to go back on your word and to say what Kenya did, you know, wasn't wrong, that's just flip-flopping. So just because you don't like me right now does not make what she did right. And I just think Kelli just wanted to insert herself because, I mean, it is what it is. Sometimes she has to be the center of attention. And it's just unfortunate that something that was so nasty and vile, now she's in support of. And it's no secret that Kenya isn't here. So how are you still supporting this woman? And you went to war for me during this situation. So if you went to war for me, how can you go back on what she did? Because her actions didn't change. It's just we're no longer friends.
And why are you guys no longer friends? Solely because of this reason? Or were there other things that came into play?
This has nothing to do with it. But you guys are going to see further in the season what unravels between Kelli and I, because we came in as a nice duo.
Right.
And, you know, just my relationship with Kelli, I met her through a mutual friend. And she just, you know, she was very warm. She wanted to, you know, do a lot of, you know, things together. And I trusted her. I trusted her. You know, I supported her. I was there for her. And just to see how things unfolded, I was just very disappointed in her. But at the end of the day, I still don't have any ill will towards Kelli. I wish her the best. I'm just, she's not really a great friend.
I'm surprised
Some of the things
by
that
that.
Okay. It's not things that you do to somebody that you really love and care about. So I'll just say that.
And what?
But you guys will see later in the season.
So Kelli and Brit are basically saying the same thing about each other, because we had Kelli earlier on in the video saying that loyalty means a lot to me, and there was a situation or areas where she wasn't loyal, i.e. Brit, and now you basically have Brit basically saying Kelli flip-flopped, and this has nothing to do with the Kenya situation, yet I haven't seen Kelli say that she agreed with what Kenya did. I've seen her say that she wished it wouldn't have went that far, but I have yet to see her say that she agreed with what Kenya did. So I'm wondering what truly went on between the two of them that they fell out like this, because they're both saying the same thing, that loyalty was lacking on both sides. So I'm interested to see the fallout. So the last thing we're going to talk about is Jessie Woo, Funky Dineva, and then Brit versus Ming Lee. Okay, so first up, let's talk about Jessie Woo and Funky Dineva. So they both did reviews on episode 5 of Real Housewives of Atlanta. Jessie Woo did her review with another YouTuber named King of Reeds, and Funky Dineva did his on his own. They both pretty much said that allegedly the tea that's down in Atlanta, because both of them are based in Atlanta, is that Ming Lee is the person that gave Kenya some of the photos of Brit Eady to show at her salon, as well as they're saying that the reason why Kenya was, I guess, giving off energy towards Brit was because during that time of them trying to figure out the cast of Real Housewives of Atlanta for Sweet 16, Ming Lee was auditioning for a position, and unfortunately Brit Eady and Kelli beat her out. What they're saying is that the people really like Kelli, and because they like Kelli and Brit have a relationship, that allegedly they decided to go with Kelli and Brit as a package deal. So let me play those 2 clips for you guys.
Was one of the girls, she was pulling for those girls to have peaches, but Brit Brit won the peach, right? Now, here's the connection between Brit and Ming. They both have a common ex. Do you know who that ex is? But they have a common ex. And so IDK, if there is, and I didn't really get into if there's animosity with that, but basically when Brit got the peach, she was still trying to get a peach too. So it could have kind of been like a Kenya and Porsha situation when they both came in. But Kelli was so good. So they chose to have Brit and Kelli. And so now you have this exchange. You have the stuff kind of brewing with Brit and Kenya, which I don't know all the ins and outs about whatever's happening off camera, but you kind of have that brewing, right? So when Kenya says that she had a private investigator, the private investigator allegedly was Ming. And that is because her and Brit, for whatever the reason, for whether it be Rick Ross or whatever, they don't get along. And so I think that's very telling, because when you look at Kenya, and this is not me defending Kenya's actions, I think Kenya's completely wrong. But when you look at Kenya, it's kind of like Kenya is having a manic episode almost. And somebody kind of put a battery in her back.
Oh, they definitely do.
Like, bitch, put the hit, bitch.
Did what you say, girl. Did what you say.
Hit. This is the tea. This is the tea. So that's what I was told, which was it wasn't no private investigator. It was because she didn't get her peach. Kenya was mad she didn't get her peach too. And so basically that was like their way of retaliating. Even though I think Kenya was right to be upset with Brit. Person who told me this, I think it makes sense now that I look at it. And when I look at the episode, if you watch that scene, I'm telling you, every time they look over, like they look over to Ming several times. I thought that was interesting too.
Yeah, they kept putting the camera on her.
Everybody around her's like,
yeah.
And she's just like,
I finally got a hold of what that off-screen information was. The off-screen information, from what I hear, as to why Kenya entered the situation prepared to be nice nasty with Brit, is because Kenya is friends with Ming Lee, and apparently, allegedly, from what I'm hearing, Ming and Brit have bad blood over a dude. Ming and Brit, Ming was actually in the background, and Ming was supposedly, auditioning, trying to get on the show, whatever, being in the fold with the ladies. Ming is supposedly a friend of Kenya's, and it's looking as if Kenya entered the equation, taking on the steam and the heat from whatever Ming and Brit got going on, and that's where all of this stems from.
So once Funky Dineva and Jessie Woo put this narrative out there, a lot of people were like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. But then you had some people being like, nah, I don't see it. But we do know for a fact that Ming Lee was auditioning to be a part of the show. We've seen her in several episodes. She was at Kelly's Balmain, or is it Balmain? Whatever. Y'all know Kelly's event, as well as we saw a lot of photo ops and videos of her with Shamia, Candy, and Porsha. And we also know now that Kenya and Ming Lee are somewhat cool. And it makes sense because Ming Lee is known for her hair and being a hairdresser, and probably was trying to help Kenya with her salon. So in some ways, I can get why a lot of people are believing this narrative, because it is true that Ming and Brit Eady did date Rick Ross. But it seems like Ming dated Rick Ross first, and then Brit was after Ming Lee. But honestly, Rick Ross go through women like underwear, so I don't really know. But I think based off of their back and forth that we're going to get to, it seems like Ming was there before Brit. Now, because this narrative has been thrown out there, a lot of people were down in Ming's comments calling her out for these actions. And Ming pretty much denied them, saying that like, y'all are getting lied to and I don't have nothing to do with this. So it says this: Ming Lee denies rumors regarding sharing explicit images of Brit with Kenya. So a person came into Ming Lee's comment saying this: you messy for telling Kenya that girl's business. Cute though. And so Ming responded by saying the internet told that girl's business. What I know is still on my phone, and I'm not on that show. Not my monkey, not my circus. So then another commenter said this: girl, they said that you are the one who provided the revenge PRN pics to Kenya of your ex-boyfriend's ex-girlfriend, Brit Eady. Low down. And then Ming responded to this person by saying they lied, case closed. So Ming is flat out denying it, saying, girl, it was not me. Don't put that on me. Well, I guess Brit Eady got wind of what Ming said in her comments, and she jumped on the internet to say this: the internet didn't tell Kenya anything, because where is it all over the internet? Ming told me herself in a drunken night at an event in Miami for a whole hour. She has saved illicit images or explicit images of me in her phone, saved for a rainy day. In parentheses, she has very weird to admit to it. She ain't innocent either. Can't help we dated the same people. So Brit is saying that no, it was Ming. Like she's implicating Ming for being one of the people that helped Kenya get these photos. But you have her new best friend, Porsha, hopping down in the comments as well saying this: Ming is innocent. I'll tell you soon. And I like how Mad Beefs captioned this post by saying, clock how Porsha and Brit can't even keep their lives consistent with each other. Is Ming innocent or is she not? Hashtag RHOA. And I think that's valid because y'all are supposed to now be cool with each other and friends, but you have one saying, yes, it's this person, and Porsha saying, no, it's not this person. And I can see Porsha coming out advocating for Ming because she's known Ming longer. But you also have Porsha saying on her YouTube channel that it was a housewife, and Ming is not a housewife. She's on Basketball Wives. So I don't know, okay? Because it's definitely given that like neither one of them know who gave out this information. It's just clicks and views at this point. Also, I've seen 3 people speculate the 3 housewives they think it is. Some people think it's Kelli. Some people think it's Angela, but a lot of people have said that they think it possibly might be Drew. I haven't really seen the argument why they think it's Kelli. I don't think it's Kelli because Kelli immediately left before those images were released. And she was just like, this is disrespectful. I'm not going to be a part of this. But then you have Angela, and some people are like, it was kind of weird that Angela was checking on Kenya, but still trying to ride for Brit. Maybe she might have did something. But then I've heard this conspiracy theory saying that it could be Drew, mainly due to the fact that Ming is dating Ty Young, which is somebody that the blog speculated that Drew was dating at the time that Mimi and Ty Young were together, because Mimi posted this cryptic photo of Drew and Ty together in the club with some song about like people doing you wrong or something like that. So the conspiracy theory is that because Ming has multiple phones, that because she keeps her old phones, that maybe Ty went through one of her phones and she sent the information to Kenya. I feel like that's convoluted AF, but that's what I've seen some people say. Okay, so Ming got wind of what Brit Eady said, and she responded to Brit by saying this: I wasn't drunk. And what I said verbatim was, if I had given those pictures or videos to Kenya, it would have been the ones I have in my phone of you at that party, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Those are not on the internet, nor have I ever shared or shown them to anyone. And I have every phone since 2011. Brit, you are 1 year younger than me, so you were well over age, and this narrative that I am mad because we dated the same person is complete BS. One of my best friends used to be his fiance, which you were cool with before you even dated him, so stop it. I don't have any problem with you, like I said to your face, and I would never leak or share any pictures or videos of you, period. You had a past, so what? Just tell everybody your hoe got deleted and you're married now. FYI, and that image from the video is still on the internet as we speak. Like I said, the internet told your business, not me. Now leave me alone. So for me, I'm leaning towards Ming's side, and it's only because Ming has been able to produce evidence with what she's been posting. When she said, girl, I've had every single phone since 2011, that lady pulled up, I guess, a picture of all of her phones. It was 8 different phones in that picture she posted to her Insta story, and they were all different models of iPhones. One of the phones I still have, which I think it was like a iPhone 11. So I just feel as though she's the only one right now producing evidence to what she's posting online. You have Brit just being like it was Ming because she feels like her and Ming have animosity towards each other because they dated the same man. But Brit hasn't produced any evidence of knowing that, like, to show that, yeah, Ming did that. Like, we don't have her saying that, like, someone told me, or I know you did it because you posted this one specific image that I sent to him. And then when it comes to Porsha, it just feels like Porsha is doing this for clicks and views. Because I'm like, why are you drawing this out? Because now you're online contradicting your newfound friend, Miss Brit, saying, no, girl, it wasn't Ming. I'll tell you guys soon. And I'm like, Porsha, whoever you implicate in this, I hope you have evidence to back it up. Or are you trying to cause arguments so you have something to talk about at the reunion? Because like I said, Porsha ain't got nothing going on. Now, when it comes down to Brit and Ming, there may be truth to what Jessie Woo and Funky Dineva were saying, but we don't totally know. So it's all just a rumor with no found evidence. Do I think Ming is weird for having videos or photos of Brit? Yeah, to a certain extent. But then again, they both dated Rick Ross. So I don't put a lot past either one of them. They both weird to me. But what I will say is, I'm also not going to condemn Ming, because I'm like, let's not act like right now the Bravo fandom isn't going up for the fact that, what's her name? Kai almost got beat up by a lady with 3 dogs. Like, and some random stranger reposted that video and got paid for it because they gave it to TMZ to post. So people do this all the time. And I feel like some people will think it's more insidious than what it is, because they think because Ming mentioned that the party happened in 2011, I've seen people make a reference to it possibly being a puffy party. But honestly, y'all, that man wasn't the only man in Hollywood, especially Black Hollywood, throwing parties. Just because the party happened in 2011 doesn't mean that's what it was. Y'all got to move on from that. We don't know what photos that Ming has of Brit. Brit could have been sloppy drunk. She could have been caught arguing with somebody, fighting with somebody, slap. Like, we don't know what it is. But I think because of the nature of the situation, that's immediately where people's minds go. But honestly, like I said, right now, I believe that Ming didn't put those pictures out there. If I'm wrong, I'll come back and be like, no, I was wrong. She did do it. But as of right now, no one has given us any proof of where Kenya got those photos other than her saying that she had a PI. That's it. So if you made it this far, thank you, because girl. But as always, remember to be bravely authentic. Definitely drop down in the comments below. Subscribe and like the video, okay? And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.